RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD. You're going to follow me on Twitter. And it's Friday, November 1st. We'll be taking a look at a GPP strategy for the NFL Week 9 slate on DraftKings. We've got 12 games. We've got a lot of high totals. And yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Injuries. Still don't know who's going to play in certain spots. It almost feels like NBA to some extent this NFL season. So hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. Hit those thummy thumbs. Give me the thummy thumbs. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. We still got NBA content later today, so tune into Grinders Live and Crunch Time later in on the channel. Obviously, if you're building your NFL lineups, you should be using SimLabs. It's our simulation product here at RotoGrinders. You can get our Combo Light package, right? You get SimLabs, you get all of our premium written content, and you get that for all 4 of the major sports, MLB, NFL, NBA, and PGA for one low price. So click on that link in the description for more information. Joining me on this Friday, it's not Squirrel Patrol. Squirrel Patrol is no longer here at RotoGrinders, so we say thank you for your service. I mean, I couldn't do most of these shows without him. So we got Bobby Gomes to fill in. You have to fill in for pretty big shoes here for some GPP strategy on DraftKings, because Squirrel Patrol's Twitter bio is pretty accurate. He's the guy that you always see on top of you on DraftKings and FanDuel, and he will be missed on this show. So hopefully we get some squirrel-like takes going forward on Fridays.
Yeah, I'll try my best. Tip my hat to Squirrel, one of the best DFS players in the world. Just an awesome content guy. In my opinion, he's probably the best in terms of like touting and playing. So yeah, I'll try my best, and hopefully we can come up with some winners on the show, Blender.
Okay, so let me bring up the screen. You know what we do on this Friday show as I'm producing it myself. Oh, there we go. We got the tiers, A, B, C, D, and F. We're going to go through game by game. We got 12 games, 24 teams. Put them on the tier list. This is ownership adjusted. So we're just looking at team stacks, right? Just because a stack is low doesn't mean you can't just play a one-off player. Just because a stack is high doesn't mean that, you got to play, 17 people from the team, right? So it's all about team stacks, game stacks, ownership adjusted. If the team is over-owned, maybe they get bumped down on the list. If the team is under-owned, maybe they get moved up on the list. And let's start, we're talking about injuries. Let's start with the first game. We got Broncos at the Ravens. The Ravens have a 27.25 implied team total. The Broncos, 19.25 implied team total. It's Friday. We'll have to see if Lamar Jackson is in practice today. He wasn't the past 2 days. But I'm going under the assumption based on the team total. This line hasn't really moved. So we're going to go under the assumption that Lamar is playing, unless, Bobby, you don't think that he is. But even if he does play, the Ravens have been one of these teams where, yeah, they'll put up a lot of points. But typically they just come through like either Lamar goes nuts or Derrick Henry goes nuts. They got Deontay Johnson now. I don't know what his status is. I don't know how that's going to affect Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is 7,000. I don't know how popular this game is even going to be. Maybe the defenses may be popular. So how do you want to handle the Ravens-Broncos game? Because I think the Ravens will score points. I'm just not sure if anyone is going to be like worth having in DFS for their prices in GPPs.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's tough to get to the Ravens. Like, you'd obviously take Lamar at low ownership. How they work Deontay in is going to be interesting, just because he's just like another similar type of Zay Flowers receiver, Rashad Bateman. And then Mark Andrews, likely. They're just very potent in terms of like their offense and the weapons, but it's also spread around, and it's kind of playing Russian roulette on who's going to get the ball. And now you're throwing in a player like Deontay Johnson of his caliber, and how are they going to work him in? I don't love this stack. I'd rather just play an under-owned Derrick Henry. If I had to go for, Let's go see because I still think I like Mark Andrews a little bit at the tight end position. I don't mind stacking him with Lamar ever. He seemed to come on in the last few weeks, so we'll go see.
But this would be more of a, if you stack, I think this is more of a skinny situation where you'd play an 8K Lamar with a $4,200 Andrews rather than like triple stack him. And on the other side, Bobby, Bo Nix is 5,900. He was chalk last week. It's a little bit different spot. They're not facing the Panthers. But running on the Ravens is kind of a lost cause. I mean, most teams pass. We've seen the Ravens give up, tons of passing yards. I'm not saying that, they're gonna, give up a ton of touchdowns. I don't think anyone's gonna play the Broncos, especially Bo Nix after being chalk last week. I mean, Bo Nix looked like Peyton Manning last week, but that was the Panthers defense. He's gonna have to throw a lot more. I don't trust him as a thrower. But I don't know if anyone's gonna play, a lineup like Nix and Sutton. I'm willing to put the Broncos like not on the F tier, just put them on the D tier, only because I don't think they're gonna score a lot of touchdowns, but for these prices, maybe a sub 6K Nix, a sub 6K Sutton could be part of a, you have those two guys in, and then you pick the best one-off plays everywhere else, and they score enough points that they do win you a GPP.
Yeah, I think you can put them on the D list. I do think the skinny of Nix and Sutton is interesting, especially with the Ravens' pass defense having been as weak as it's been this season. Very stout against the run, so they turn into a pass funnel. And like you said, the ownership's there. It's not really there. It's like it's around probably under 5% for both, I would imagine. So I think you throw them in the D tier. I do think the rushing equity of Nix and the issues in on the back end of the Ravens defense could allow you in large field to play Bo Nix and Sutton stacks, but nothing that I would love to get to too much.
Okay, here's the next game is a game that I'd love to get to. It's going to be popular, though. I don't know how popular, though, because I'm looking at our current ownership, and it's not as high as I maybe thought it was going to be. And this is the Cowboys at the Falcons. I think this is the highest total game on the slate in total. Dallas is a dog. Falcons are at home as a favorite, 27.25 implied team total. Cowboys, 24.25 implied team total. The Falcons the Falcons have a decent defense, but they really don't rush the passer all that great. And I think Dak is a good quarterback, despite the fact the Cowboys aren't playing all that well. CeeDee Lamb should be probably the popular high-priced wide receiver, although I'm not sure if you need to necessarily play high-priced wide receivers. And then on the other side of the ball, we got, Kirk Cousins, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. I think both Bijan and London will be fairly popular on DraftKings, but I'm not sure about Cousins. And then are people going to go get along the Kyle Pitts bandwagon after, one great week last week? I just don't see, this is a game that I want to play, but I can't get the sense of if this is going to be over-owned or under-owned, because our ownership projections currently makes it feel like it's under-owned. But I think a lot of people are still going to play this game because this is like the most obvious kind of shootout spot, especially if Dallas keeps the game competitive so the Falcons don't just run the ball a million times. So where do you want to put these two teams, and how best to stack up? I mean, is the stack Prescott, Lamb, Ferguson? And is the stack like Cousins, London, Pitts? I mean, that's like the standard ways to do it. What are your thoughts on the prognosis of this game and also the ownership?
Yeah, I really like Cousins stacks. I think with his ownership being if you look in game level factors, this is very fast pace. It's just a good game. It's just a good game environment. We're in a dome. So for me, I think Kirk Cousins makes a good bit of sense. I think an interesting way of stacking him is with Kyle Pitts and then running it back with a CD, CeeDee Lamb. That's kind of how my builds have gone. I feel like Drake London will be very chalky to stack him with. You could still obviously stack him with London and Pitts, or Kirk Cousins to London. But for GPPs, I think no one wants to click the Kyle Pitts button. We've seen him have a big week last week, and I would imagine that people are still very tentative to click the Kyle Pitts, just his name in general. So I wouldn't mind going back there and then running it back with CD. I'd put the Falcons in the A category for me. Like the Falcons a good bit.
And then Dallas. I mean, if we do a Prescott, Lamb, Ferguson stack, I mean, I think that's actually cleaner than the Falcons. Truthfully, I mean, so? I prefer the Cowboys over the Falcons. I'm just concerned about ownership. We have. I mean, right now we have Prescott at 7% owned, and I mean, I think Dak is going to be in my cash game lineup on DraftKings, and when that happens, like, he's not going to be. I just get a sense that Prescott Lamb type lineups are going to be way more popular than 7% owned and 12% owned.
Yeah, that's why for me, like, they'd be more in the B tier, not the A tier, and I prefer getting to the Falcons.
Do you have any problem playing Kirk Cousins with Bijan, playing a Cousins Bijan Pitts type of lineup, and not playing London?
No, I don't actually, because we've seen if they end up trailing, that's when Bijan kind of has the ability to hit his ceiling. So wouldn't mind playing Cousins with Bijan, playing Cousins with Mooney. I just think there's more lower owned outs, and then you can run it back with Lamb.
Okay, next game on the docket is the Dolphins at the Bills. The Bills are a 6-point favorite, 27.5 implied team total. The Dolphins, 21.5 implied team total. I think more of this game, we're going to talk about the underdog team. Josh Allen, now has another weapon in Amari Cooper. The slot receiver, Khalil Shakir. You got Kincaid there. You got Keon Coleman, who's not doing badly, just like so many people. And then you got James Cook out of the backfield. I think Josh Allen, as a quarterback himself, could be the highest scoring quarterback on the slate and have like no one on his team be in the winning GPP lineup. But on the other side, we got the Dolphins, and Achane is still cheap at 6,700 for his ceiling. Tyreek is still cheap at 7,300 for his ceiling. The Bills aren't a great matchup defensively, but when the Dolphins were super chalk last week, obviously they're not favored like they were, against the Colts, and had a higher implied team total. But I think for GPPs, I mean, I think other running backs are going to be more popular than Achane, and I think other wide receivers are going to be more popular than Tyreek Hill. And if you just told me, I mean, the Dolphins, it's not like the Dolphins have a 17-point implied total. They're playing Skylar Thompson. It's still Tua, and it's a 21.5 implied team total. I don't know about you, Bobby. I feel like the Dolphins should be in the A tier.
Yeah, I just worry about the Bills. They play too high. I do like the Dolphins. I would just more rather put them in the B or the C category. We'll throw them in B, split the difference. And I also want to see this team kind of get back to like running the McDaniel offense and get comfortable. This is another week with Tua back, so maybe they're more further along in becoming the Dolphins we know of old. So yeah, you can throw them in the B category. You obviously have Achane, can break a slate at any time. Definitely love Achane from like on the slate as a GPP running back. Tyreek, is there a better tournament wide receiver over the last 5 years in the NFL? Like, no. So for me, the Dolphins are a good stack. I am a little tentative with like going into Buffalo, and then on top of that, Bills playing too high. They don't allow a ton deep, and they've done a good job of keeping Tyreek in check in the past. But I still think in the context of the slate, they're a quality GPP option.
But how about the Bills? I mean, I feel like very similar to the Ravens, but not even as good as the Ravens. Like, I don't mind putting the Bills like in the D tier because it's Josh Allen. Just you tell me how to stack this team. like no one is like even like that cheap. Like Keon Coleman is 5,400, Kincaid is 5,000, Shakir is 5,900, Amari Cooper is 5,800. I think that stacking the Bills is probably a little bit better on FanDuel. I think the pricing is a little bit better there, but like dude, like the Bills could score 5 touchdowns, and other than Josh Allen, no one's putting up more than 15 points. And like I don't want to say it's like the Packers, because I even think the Packers have a more condensed passing attack than the Bills. Is there I can't put the Bills in the F tier because the Bills have a 27.5 implied total, but good luck telling me how you stack the Bills without playing 700 lineups so you can get all the combinations.
In a few weeks, this might be an easier decision because we don't really know how Amari is going to continue to be worked in. Obviously, we would imagine his snap count goes up and he's more involved. But right now, I think the D category is fine. If I was stacking Josh Allen, Kincaid, Shakir, Amari, there'd be more skinny stacks and just rely on Josh to pretty much get there from a quarterback perspective and outscore everyone. And hopefully I'm stacking him with the correct target. Like James Cook a lot from a tournament perspective as a running back. I think he stands out a little bit. I don't know what we have for ownership currently. Let me check. James Cook.
Now 2%.
2%. Yeah. So,
he's 7,200. He's not. He's going to be very low owned.
He's going to be very low owned, and I think he's a good play. I think they negatively correlate. So, like in larger field stuff, Allen and Cook, I feel like there's a slight negative correlation for the two of them hitting their ceiling. But if you're playing smaller field stuff, I think it's fine to play the two of them together. But more larger field stuff for them to basically hit a 99% outcome where you need to be perfect, it might be not the best way to build, I would say. But I think they're fine in the D tier.
Okay, next game, maybe a quite own one on one side. We got the Saints heading to Carolina to face the Panthers. The Saints are a 7-point road favorite with a 25.25 implied team total. The Panthers, 18.25 implied team total. As we've learned this year, you just play anyone against the Panthers, and they will score a lot of fantasy points. Kamara may be the highest owned running back on the slate. I think Olave at 6,100 will be one of the highest owned wide receivers on the slate. Derek Carr is going to be back, supposedly, at 5,600. And obviously on the other side of the ball, you got Chuba Hubbard, who, for all intents and purposes, kind of owns the backfield for the Panthers and probably touches the ball 25 times no matter what the game script is. We are going to have Taysom Hill back as well. So that puts a little damper on, he tends to vulture stuff from everyone. Then you got the Panthers who have like no receivers. Deontay Johnson's gone. They're going to be starting Bryce Young. Is this like it? This is one of the two things. I don't trust the Saints, right? I don't trust the Saints at all. But it's the Panthers, Bobby. Like, it's the Panthers with Bryce Young and no receivers. And Kamara and Olave are, like, from a skill position standpoint, like, by far better than the defense that they're facing. The only thing I say against the Saints is that they're just going to be very high owned. So, like, I can't put them in the A tier. So, and you could even play Clark, Kamara, Olave, and I think you're good there also. And you could even play, truthfully, you could play Taysom Hill at 3,800, I think, and be okay there. So what do you think about the Saints? Do you think they're going to be even higher owned than what they are? Do you think people aren't going to trust the Saints? How do you think people are going to react to? I think we've just gotten used to just playing teams against the Panthers, and people are just going to they're going to pile into Kamara and Olave.
Yeah, I think people are going to basically play the ancillary pieces and kind of go away from the stack. I think we're all going to have the same opinion about the full stack, which maybe you can play them over the field, but for me, currently, they'd be in the C category. They have to make up that 26 implied point total some way, so playing Olave and Kamara in lineups and Taysom Hill, etc. I think it makes sense. But playing them as a full stack, it's not really where I want to go in tournaments currently. You can, because that point total is as high as it is, and they're playing the Panthers. But the way I see it, like, the Panthers aren't going to be able to push back enough. Like, they just traded away their best player in offense. Bryce Young's back under center. This isn't a team, like, I think has much firepower to really make the Saints hit outcomes as a stack that you would need in tournaments. So I'm putting him in the C category, but I could even go lower.
And especially due to ownership. I mean, people are going to, I mean, this is going to be very popular. And it's not saying that they can't do well. It's like, will you need to have these players to win a GPP? So, like, Kamara could score 24 fantasy points and still not be necessary to win GPPs. Olave could score 24. That's a little bit at 6,100. 24 is getting up there. But if Olave has 7 for 80 and a touchdown for 21 points,
you're not going to be happy.
Right. Especially if you have Carr in there, and Carr is sitting there with 16 points. Right. Taysom Hill has a touchdown. They threw a tight end screen to Foster Moreau for another touchdown. And you know, Cedric Wilson's out there catching one ball for 52 yards for a touchdown, and you're sitting there with your Olave lineups going, yeah.
What's going on? Yeah.
Right. You can't. I mean, and the thing is, you cashed. You got your little 1.5x, and you got over the line, and you're good. But you know, when Olave is 26% owned with 20 points, like, it didn't do you as much. I'm with you. I think the Saints are going to be overowned. And the Panthers. Do we have to talk about the Panthers? Can we just put the Bryce Young and the Panthers?
No, put them in F. Put them in F. Can we flip? Can we flip the Saints and Broncos? I do like Bo Nix coming into the show, and I do like the skinny more. I tag Bo.
We can't put the Saints down to the D tier. They're not going to be that high owned that we're going to bump them all the way down.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I mean, to most people, the Saints are an A tier. From a projection standpoint, you go, they're an A tier team. From an ownership standpoint and a ceiling standpoint, maybe they're not. So I'm not willing to bump them down to the. But maybe if you want me to put the Broncos up with the Saints.
Put the Broncos up. Yeah, put the Broncos up there.
At the end of the show, we're going to do the Squirrel Patrol thing of making sure that all of our tiers are completely even. So like it'll as a bell curve, because that's what we even when Squirrel wasn't here and Cardi was here, we did that just for Squirrel's OCD. So at least we could give him a tribute.
Well, my OCD respects it. So yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay, let's go to the next game. We got the Raiders at the Bengals. A lot of large spreads on this slate. We got the Bengals as a touchdown favorite at home, 26.75 implied team total. The Raiders, 19.75 implied team total. I don't get the sense that it's kind of weird. I get right now our projected ownership has the Raiders players to be more owned than the Bengals players, which at their prices, I guess I see. I think depending on if you want to play, like, I think Chase Brown is like one of the only like cheaper running backs that I'd consider playing in GPPs. Although I'm not, I'm not a big fan of these split backfields, but we don't know the status of T. Higgins. He could be out. He could be in. I think we currently have him out of the projections. Why don't we? I mean, I think every week, if you played Burrow double stacks, like, you'd win 2 or 3 weeks out of the season. You may not know what weeks you win, but you're probably going to win 2 out of 3. You're going to get the top stack 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not scared of the Raiders defense. The only thing I'm scared of is that the Bengals are a big enough favorite here that it's a lot of Chase Brown and Zach Moss and not as much of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I actually prefer this if T plays, because I think it's more likely that the Bengals could just run over, they'll throw the ball, score 35 points, and you could double stack Chase and Higgins, and the Burrow stack will get there. I don't know what your thoughts on here, but it's very enticing to play Bengals Burrow double stack at single digit ownership.
Yeah, it's enticing. You just hope the Vegas pushes back, which I think they might be able to do in this slate. Like I just ran our sims for large field stuff, and Gardner Minshew is actually in the first lineup with Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. I think that does give some credence to Burrow if they're going to be very low on the Bengals, because we're seeing that the Vegas team can, it's basically showing that it projects well and they can score points. So maybe it can end up being a shootout or something along those lines, or just them pushing back in some way. But Minshew, Myers, Brock Bowers, think these guys are in play. Madison's cheap for the context of the slate. Projections would say put the Raiders in like B. I'm going to say C because I don't really love the idea of putting American dollars on the Las Vegas Raiders at this point. So yeah, we'll throw them in C.
The projections would tell me to put the Bengals below them, but I feel
we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
I can't put the Raiders above the Bengals.
Yeah, you can't do that.
But stacking it, like I wouldn't mind, like if you played a Minshew, Myers, Bowers lineup, running it back with the Jamar Chase, like playing that type of lineup, like, and then if you play the Bengals lineup, I feel like I don't even need to have any Raiders in it at all.
Yeah. No, I get you. My girlfriend just texted me. Can you guys hear my daughter screaming in the background? She just found her voice. Yeah. So the Bengals, like you said, the T double. I mean,
well, T is like 6,400. So like I don't mind doing that. When Burrow goes off, he goes. I mean, like both these guys could get 100 yards. I mean, like I just don't mind. I'm not saying that I would do it. I'm just saying that dude, you know how many times Burrow, Higgins, Chase has won a GPP? I mean, like, yeah, it doesn't matter what their prices are. Just they throw for 350 yards and 80% of the production goes to those two receivers.
I like Chase Brown too. I think he's interesting. Eric All's kind of come on at the tight end position a little bit. Not that he's like a dominant player, but if you're gonna stack up the Bengals, you can throw him in there as well. I think Chase Brown might be an ancillary piece, like someone I'm very over on at the running back position this week too. So yeah, correlating him with Burrow and Chase, I don't mind, and then running it back with one of these Raiders, I think is fine.
Okay, next game. Chargers at the Browns. Chargers 22 implied team total. The Browns 20.5 implied team total. You wouldn't expect it, but the highest pass rate over expectation team of the past couple of weeks has been the Chargers. And we saw Ladd McConkey go off at low ownership, which I did play last week. And now we're projecting him to be kind of chalky at 5,600 against the Browns. But outside of that, pretty much everyone wanted to play Jameis Winston last week, right? The Winston doubles with Tillman and Njoku. I don't know how popular that's gonna be this week, and I'm not really a big fan of attacking the Chargers defense. But at these prices, we know Jameis Winston's going to chuck the ball. I mean, like he's licensed to throw. He's obviously much better than Deshaun Watson. I don't know. I feel like after the Browns were chalky last week, they're just not going to be owned enough this week. And I don't see any reason why Winston, Tillman, and Njoku can't, at their prices, 5,400, 4,300, 5,500, and you could play Elijah Moore instead of Tillman or something like that. I don't see there's any reason why the Browns can't put up enough points at those prices that, then I play a Chase, I play a Lamb, I play a, Kyron Williams. I could put Kamara in that lineup, as like the vomit stack, as I call him. I don't see any reason why I can't play the Browns at, like last week I didn't want to at high ownership, but this week, is there that much of a difference between the games other than, obviously the Ravens give up a lot of passing yards, but it's a less of a spot, but I don't think it's that less of a spot because they have a 20.5 implied team total.
Yeah, I'm with you. And a key point you made was that this offense on the other side and the Chargers has really came out of the Stone Age, and they've started to throw the ball, highest passing rate over expectation over the last couple of weeks. I didn't know that. That's a good point. And it definitely brings this game more into the light from a GPP perspective for me. I'm going to throw Cleveland in the B category, and we'll throw the Chargers in the C, just because, like, I don't want to have too much risk on Justin Herbert and Lad McConkey and all these guys, just and Harbaugh not.
You're not confident in playing a Herbert McConkey Disley stack?
No, I'm not. I'm not that confident, Blender. I'm not that confident. I will say though, I can go back to Jameis. I do think Elijah Moore is like a good player. Like he's not terrible, and I do think that you can work him in at 4,200 in these Winston stacks along with Njoku. I think more people will gravitate to Tillman, Judy. Nick Chubb is back. I don't know if you want to stack Winston and Chubb, because Chubb hasn't been a very, in terms of like pass catching, hasn't really throughout his career, hasn't been worked into the passing game too much. But Winston, Elijah Moore, Tillman, and Njoku, I like that stack. You can run it back with McConkey if you feel the need to. We'll throw them in the B, Chargers in the C.
Okay, next game.
Where were you on that? Because I'm just interested where you were at.
On what?
Like, where would you have thrown the Browns and the Chargers?
I would have. No, this is exactly what I would have done. That's why I didn't bother to shift or complain, right? I wouldn't mind moving the Browns down to C if people are like, well, I mean, are they that? I mean, we'll shift stuff around at the end. We'll end up having to bump people down and around anyway.
All right.
We still got to put the teams in the D tier. We haven't. I mean, well, trust me, we got D and F tier teams coming up. So don't worry about it.
You're the boss, so whatever you say goes. Whatever you say.
Okay,
goes.
This next game, you're going to be shocked. You're going to be shocked where we may place one of these teams. We got the Commanders at the Giants. Commanders with a 24-point implied total. The Giants with a 20-point implied total. As a cheap quarterback, Daniel Jones 5,200. There's no place you could go on the internet, Bobby. That where people have, where there are tools like here at RotoGrinders, we got SimLabs, right? We got Lineup HQ, we got all of our IQ tools, right? Other places have tools too. You can't go around the industry and not show how Daniel Jones is the highest optimal. Like if you run Sims, Daniel Jones, no matter, like, as long as the Giants have like at least a somewhat reasonable implied team total, when Daniel Jones is 5,200 and Malik Neighbors is under 8,000, it's going to tell you that you should be playing a lot of Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors together. Our sim tool, if you go to the optimal stack page for DraftKings, Daniel Jones has the highest optimal rate of any stack on the entire slate by a considerable amount over guys like Daniels and Prescott, and we'll get up to Geno Smith and Hurts and Burrow. And it's a lot of it is a byproduct of price and a byproduct of Daniel Jones's rushing touchdown equity. You would think that it should be on the other side. Jaden Daniels is the one with rushing touchdown equity. The problem with stacking Jaden Daniels is that who do you play with him? Like, Zach Ertz, Terry McLaurin's now up to 7,100. We're not even, and then on the Giants side, we're not sure who's going to be necessarily in the backfield. I think we have Tracy projected out. And I think that actually adds more to Daniel Jones's ceiling than Devin Singletary. And would I be nuts to say that the Giants, if you just blindly just close your eyes and go by the tools, like, I'm going to put him in the B tier just so I don't put him in the A tier, so I don't get troll comments. But like, our sim tools basically say that Giant stacks of Jones and Neighbors are the most, and it's not like they're going to be like very low owned, but they're still under owned for the ceiling of both these players at these two positions at their price.
I'm perfectly fine with putting them in the B tier. That would have been the same argument I had. Everything's going to tell you to put them in the A. And I would just, like, I was calling for Daniel Jones benching on Twitter the other day. After the fumble, like 6 minutes left in the game, he fumbles, and then like they need a score, and then coming down at the end of the game, he throws a pick, and it's how much more can you take of this? Yeah, but him and Neighbors do have the ceiling. Washington, it should be up in pace. Their defense has gotten better than it has been previously. So should it be up in pace? Actually, let me check the blitz. Or am I just talking out of my? It's neutral. So you can put the Giants in the B. I would put Washington in the C, although projections would say put them in the D category. Just because of the upside that Jaden Daniels has. Yeah, throw him in C.
Right. I consider Jaden Daniels to be very similar to like a Lamar Jackson, where it's like Jaden Daniels could be could score 35 points at quarterback, and like no one else on his team. Like he doesn't need to. You didn't to stack him with anyone.
Yeah, but I think you can. I think there's more. It's more condensed, right? So we know it's going to, like with Jackson, it's going to, who knows at this point with the Deontay Johnson acquisition. With Daniels,
I prefer Ertz. I prefer Daniel. Just do Daniels plus Ertz, and I'm good.
Yeah, me too. We're in agreement.
Okay, now we're getting to some D and F tier teams. We got the Patriots at the Titans. This is one of the lowest total game on the entire slate. The Titans are a 3.5-point favorite, 20.75 implied team total. Patriots 17.25 implied team total. I mean, can I play Calvin Ridley? Sure. Can I play Tony Pollard?
Calvin Ridley, yeah.
Sure. Do I want to play Mason Rudolph? No. Do I want to play anyone on the Patriots? Can I play Ramondre? I maybe.
I don't like Ramondre versus Tennessee defense. I think Hunter Henry would be the one guy I'd have interest in at the tight end position from the Patriots, and that's literally it. They can both go in F.
I would put the tight. See, Calvin Ridley is enough, and Pollard's enough of a pass catcher that I'm gonna put the Titans, if I could find their logo, in the D. I would put them above. Would you rather? Here's the question, Bobby. Would you rather play a Mason Rudolph Titan stack, or would you rather play a Jacoby Brissett Patriots stack?
I would rather play neither.
Yeah, but if you had to, gun to your head, if you had to, I'm going to play the Titans.
Oh, yeah, I guess the Titans, yeah.
These are the tough decisions we have to make on Friday.
These aren't decisions. We just X.
Right. I mean, yeah, for me, the easy decision is just, I could, but you admit that.
I do think Ridley is viable. I do think Ridley is viable for sure.
Okay. Next game, we got the Bears at the Cardinals. Cardinals are a 1.5-point favorite at home, 23-point implied team total. The Bears 21.5 implied team total. I think the most popular and probably the best plays in this game are the running backs. I think I'm much more likely to play Swift and Connor rather than the pass and then the stacks. But if I had to choose, I mean, the thing is that Kyler Murray and Trey McBride, just playing them together, I feel like if the Cardinals go out and pass a bunch, I've gotten a lot. And Kyler could score on the ground, and he could score 30-plus points. McBride's tight end eligible. If he scores 20 at tight end, that's golden. Caleb Williams, very high variance. He could have great games. He could have really bad games. I just think his receivers are kind of overpriced. Like, can you play DJ Moore? Sure. Can you play Keenan Allen? Sure. Can you play Roma Dunze at 4,900? Maybe. Can you play Cole Kmet at 4,400? Maybe. Like, the stack is just too expensive. Although, I think the Bears could do well against the Cardinals. I'm just not sure if they do well enough to satisfy a double stack at these prices for a ceiling. Like, Caleb Williams scores 20 fantasy points. DJ Moore has 20 and Kmet has 12. And it's like, okay, I could come in like maybe the top 15%, but it's not a stack that I needed to have.
Yeah, I feel like I have both of them currently in the D category. I don't know where you sit in terms of that. I just, like you said, they're expensive. Chicago's expensive. Kyler, you can make him work with McBride, and maybe you could bump Arizona up to the C category. can make him work with McBride, but it's nothing I love. I don't really love this game environment.
Right. I mean, I think I still would put him. I would put them both together. Yeah. Would I play Kyler over Caleb? Yes.
Yeah,
But
that's
would
what
I
I'm
play
saying.
Kyler
Like,
over any? I mean, I almost want to play. I'd rather play the Raiders Gardner Minshew stack than play the Cardinals. So I kind of see why they're on the D tier team. But yeah, I don't mind the running backs and this. I mean, truthfully, I mean, I'll always play the way that they use James Conner on the Cardinals. Like, you tell me James Conner is going to be under 15% on any slate and he's under 7K. Like, I'm just going to play him because, like, he could score 3 touchdowns. He could touch the ball 30 times in a game if they want. Like, he's like the low end Joe Mixon. Like, he's the Arizona Cardinals version of that. Swift is a lot more dynamic, right? If there's going to be a big breakout game, sure. But, I mean, we've seen plenty of Swift games where he goes 16 for 42 with no targets, and he does nothing.
Speaking of Joe Mixon, I haven't seen Joe Mixon be this good in his entire career at the latter end, I would imagine. He looks fantastic, but just throwing that out there.
Well, it also helps that they give him the ball 74 times because all the receivers are hurt.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, next game. Anything else?
No, I like the Connor and Swift take for running back. I think they're both in play.
Okay, we got the Jaguars at the Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles are a 7.5 point favorite right now. At home, 26.5 implied team total. Jacksonville, 19 point implied team total. This is another situation. Maybe a little bit more straightforward. Very similar. All these expensive quarterbacks have ceilings. It's hard to stack them or expensive to stack them. My natural inclination is to play Hurts plus A.J. Brown plus Greg Calcaterra with Goddard out. I've done that the past couple of weeks. Obviously, Hurts, could rush the ball in a bunch of times. I played Trevor Lawrence before, but we have good luck. Like this is the injury team. Etienne, I think, is a game time decision. Brian Thomas and Gabe Davis, maybe game time decisions. Who knows who's going to play on the Jaguars? And the question, Bobby, is should we even care?
We shouldn't care. Jaguars going F. Philly, you can put in C.
No, Bobby. So let's say all of them are out. You wouldn't entertain playing a Trevor Lawrence,
Washington, no.
Evan Ingram stack?
Nope.
You just no.
Nope. Any offense tied to Doug Peterson, I'm completely out on at this point. So what do we do with Philly is the question. Do we throw Philly in C? Because I guess Phil, like usually they're with a 27 implied team total. I just think they're kind of expensive, no?
I also think, Bobby, they're expensive. And if your take on the Jaguars is right, that they're garbage, the Eagles, unlike the Chargers, the Eagles have one of the highest run over expectation rates the past couple of weeks.
Put them in D. Put them in D, Blender. Put them in D. Put them in D.
Didn't Doug Peterson used to coach the Eagles?
He did used to coach the Eagles. They beat the Patriots in the championship because of Greg Wright, and he gets all the credit for it.
So is this a revenge? Is this a revenge game though?
The Eagles are going to absolutely destroy. Actually, I don't know because Sirianni's like terrible in my opinion. I don't know. It might. I don't know. If they consider it, he might consider it a revenge game. I don't know if it matters. He doesn't seem pretty vindictive behind those glasses. So
I don't think it's going to matter anyway because it's not
going to matter.
Jaguars have half their players that are not even healthy. Who knows?
It was Frank Reich, not Frank Reich, not Greg Reich. Or the Indianapolis coach previously was the OC for Philly when they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Sorry, my ADHD.
It's okay. Next game. We got the Lions, best team in football. Lions at the Packers. Lions are a 2.5 point road favorite with a 25.5 implied team total. The Packers 23 point implied team total. And I think a lot of points get scored in this game, and it's quite possible that no one gets there. Like just on both these teams have the same issue of they can score points in 5 different ways, and some weeks it's only one of those ways, and you don't know which one it's going to be, and some weeks it's just everyone. I don't mind if you want to take a shot on Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, he's now priced up to 7,600. I think that's fine at running back. But like, I'm on Russ St. Brown at 7,900. Sure, I mean, you can and play a Goff stack. You could play a Jordan Love, Jaden Reed type of lineup. But I mean, it's just like you got Amon-Ra, Gibbs, Laporta, Montgomery, Tim Patrick. And then on the Packers side, you got Watson and Dobbs and Reed and Kraft and Jacobs and Melton and Raymond and Lions and Tigers and Wicks and I mean,
too many guys.
I think this game goes over the total. It just I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure if like I'm going to stack this game and then everyone scores about their median amount of points and you're just sitting there going, okay, that didn't really work out. Yeah, well, the game was 30-27, and 6 different people have touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the same issues. And for that reason, Green Bay goes in D. Detroit, also D. I think that's where I'm putting both of them.
Okay. We'll sort these out. We're almost there. Okay, last game on the slate. Game that I actually like. I like in the late set. The Rams at the Seahawks. Rams are 1-point favorite on the road. 24.5 implied team total. Seahawks 23.5 implied team total. Seahawks have not looked good last week, but Metcalf should be back. Should be. I don't have any issue attacking the Rams defense. The Rams are at, if you want to call them full strength, it's full enough strength with Puka and Cooper Kupp, and obviously Kyron Williams is there. The Rams are expensive though, but the Seahawks aren't. I don't know about you, and I'll cite our optimal stacks tool. Geno Smith is the number 2 in our current Sibs as far as optimal stack for large field GPPs, and I don't think people are going to go. I think people are off the Seahawks train. And early in the season, people were like, "Oh, we got to play Geno. He's throwing, it's 45 times." I'm willing to go back there. I'm making a bold call, and obviously a projection-based call because that's what I do. I'm going to put the Seahawks in the A tier. Do you have any problem with that, Bobby?
I have no problem with that. I'm in complete agreement. I think the Seahawks can go in the A tier. It's more dependent on Metcalf, but I think he's gonna get back, right? So,
but Metcalf's 6,500. I mean, like he's in the same range as London and and Olave. Like playing a Geno Smith, Metcalf, Noah Fant lineup. I mean, I think it's cheaper than the Falcons stack.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it could put up just as many points. And I think this is going to be a competitive game. And I also don't mind throwing, truthfully, even in that stack, I don't mind throwing in Walker also.
He's catching passes. He's seeing a ton of usage. I don't mind it. I think I would prefer getting to Walker although you're going to have to find savings, I would imagine. I would prefer the Geno Walker Metcalf stack to Fant Metcalf, which is
but Fant's 36. You throw. I mean, you can probably going to have.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. Like at any point in my GPP lineups, Bobby, where I need to play a cheap tight end, I'd rather play the tight end that if there's a cheap tight end tied to the quarterback than some random other cheap tight end, unless it's Cade Otton, because he's obviously Gronkowski now. Like you got to play him at 35.
Let's not bring that up because I hit the X.
It made sense though, because it's the same type of thing.
It didn't make sense. It was I'm sick. I don't know why I did that. I wrote him up too and everything, and then I was just like, I can't play this guy. Like, there's no way. I don't know. It was a rough rough situation there. Tight end. What's the National Tight End Day?
Yeah.
I don't like that day, Blender. That's not a good day in my book.
So where are we putting the Rams? The Rams are expensive. Like,
they're expensive. I think
stack the Rams. I mean, you're paying like through the nose for these players.
But I love Puka. I love Cooper Kupp. I love Kyron. I think you put them in the C category. They're expensive. They are tough to stack, but we do think this game will be competitive. So I think throwing the Rams in the C is fine. I just hate the thing about the Rams. Like, Matthew Stafford's not mobile. You're going to have to double him up. I don't know. C, we'll leave him in the C, but yeah. The ancillary pieces, I think, are fine.
Okay. So let's even these things out. I don't know. Let's see. How are we going to even these out? Let's
Dallas in A. Let's get Dallas back to A, because I know you want to put Dallas.
Okay, we're going to put Dallas in A. Okay, so we get the 3 on the A tier, because now we're going to have to bring up some teams from the C tier. Or let's see. We could bring up. Okay, so out of these teams, which would you rather? Which stack? I'm scared to answer this question. Ownership adjusted.
I'm scared to answer this question too.
It's the Ravens, the Saints, the Broncos, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Commanders, the Rams.
Let's put the Raiders and the Chargers. Raiders and the Chargers.
I was scared about I was scared about the Raiders, because I was like, my answer is going to be the Raiders, and I don't know.
No, yeah, I figured that was your answer, because I think we're looking at similar things.
Right, similar. And now we just got to move one team from the D tier up to the C tier.
Arizona. Yeah, I'd agree with you. Arizona.
Or the Eagles, maybe the Eagles?
No. Because I think Chicago has a better chance of pushing back than I do Jacksonville, I guess.
Right. We get down to the point where
Blender. You always go with the first instinct, unless the Eagles were your first instinct. And you can...
No. My first instinct were the Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, especially ownership adjusted. I think Hurts is going to be more. I don't think anyone's playing Kyler and McBride on DraftKings. I think it's more going to be played on FanDuel, if anything. And then to pour one out for Squirrel Patrol. I mean, we do it every week anyway, to make sure all the tiers are even, so it's nice and
looks good.
It looks good, right? It makes us be forced to give like at least our personal leans of, like, if you had to choose between these, which one would you? Okay, I even though like the difference between the C and the D tier is not like dramatic or anything. The only dramatic thing that I think we've said on the show is that, I just mentioned the Jaguars, and you're just like, let's not even bother talk about them. Let's just throw them in the F tier, even though they're the team that has 70 people out.
Yeah, but like you said, one of those guys are going to be forced to play is Parker Washington. So I don't know. Do you want to play Trevor Lawrence? All right, switch Tennessee and the Jags, Blender. Switch Tennessee and the Jags.
Really? I think I'd rather play the Titans.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
But Mason Rudolph did well against the Patriots.
One game. What's he done over his career? He was in a dome. It was versus Detroit. Their secondary is not great.
Okay, so we're moving the Jaguars. We're putting the Titans down. But basically, the Patriots-Titans game is the game that, like,
yeah, you can
completely. If you want to get the lowest ownership and stack the game that has a 38 implied team total and it works out for you, then you're just a time traveler. Like, I'm just gonna say that you're a time lord, because I'm not doing it.
I like how this came out.
Okay. You have anything else? Any other strategic takes that you have on the slate? And also you got stuff. I mean, you're going to be on the weekend for tournament takes, and I'm on tournament. You're one of the voices, Bobby. I don't know if this sounds weird to say to you, Bobby.
I'm on tournament takes. What'd you say?
You're one of the first voices that I hear when I wake up in the morning on Sundays.
Oh, really?
Before my wife.
Hopefully it's a voice that brings you joy throughout the day.
No. Typically, I disagree. Typically, I disagree with your takes on that show. At least on that show, it's like, okay, Tim said something smart. Dean, whatever, right? And then Bobby's like, Like, yeah, I'm going to fade Kate Otten in all my lineups. It's like, that's probably not a good idea, Bobby. That's like you'll say certain things. I'm like, you know what? He's on the right. I'm doing that, and no one else is. I hope people don't listen to Bobby. And then sometimes it's
the
like,
Kate
no,
Otten
that
thing
doesn't
was
sound like a good
we
idea.
need to really. That's going to be a rough one for a while. That was like a half shot, half compliment. I like that. What do you call that? It's
I don't know.
you know.
No, I mean, it is a compliment. It's like, I don't know what your takes are going to be, but they're not going to be in the middle, right?
No. I'm very, yeah.
Right, because like when I said before about like I'm going to put Geno Smith and the Seahawks in the A tier. Like, I'm half expecting you either to go, oh my God, we're on the same page completely, or I think they're like almost a D tier team, and I don't even see what you see in the Seahawks, and I don't know what that's going to be. I never know. I don't know what it's going to be.
All right, no, it's good. I'm happy I got to hop on with you, Blender. It was a good time. Nice show. Tonight, I think we have an NBA show. I think I'm filling in for Kirk on Grinders Live, so guys come check that.
So you're going to be on tonight, and then but you also got the Tournament Takes show, right? Also,
Tournament Takes Saturday, yeah. Tournament Takes Saturday, which my kid has like an open house, so I don't know currently if I'm going to be on it, but we'll see. Tournament Takes.
Then you wake up early. Then you wake up early on Sunday, 9:30 a.m. for our Sunday block, which leads all the way up until lock, and you're on the People Show.
The People Show, yep.
Right. I don't know who the people are, but it is the People Show. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Give me those dummy thumbs. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to always know when I go live. Remember, crunch time later tonight. Crunch time. Grinders Live. We got plenty of NFL content as well. SimLabs and Combo Light Package. You can click on that link in the description to get more information about that. And I will be back next week, as I'm always here on weekdays, 11 o'clock Eastern, talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props, and pick'em on RotoGrinders Today.